So I'm wondering, do you see a common theme with people who are struggling to have conversations with friends about money, whether it's as simple as like, do we want to split this evenly or should we pull out the calculator?
Oh, it's so awkward.
I know. Do you find that there's like one big thing that they're scared of?
I think one big thing is people are always scared to just set the boundary. Like at the end of the day, all of this comes back to boundary setting conversations, which if you haven't read Set Boundaries, Find Peace, for the love of God, please do. But yes, it really does come back to the how vulnerable are you willing to be in XYZ dynamic. And one of my favorite quotes in the book actually came from Melanie Lockhart, who wrote the book Dear Debt. And she talks about a situation that she was in where, and this has happened to all of us at some point, you're at a dinner with a group of people and maybe you know like one or two of the cohort, but like you don't really know the whole group. And so then it feels awkward if you have to financially vouch for yourself because there's a lot of vulnerability that's going to take place. If you're like, hey, I cannot afford to split the dinner bill evenly. And you don't have to use the word afford. You can nuance the language. But her point was, would you rather be resentful or have an awkward moment of potential embarrassment for like a short period of time? And let me tell you, resentment lasts so much longer than the embarrassment. And I thought that was such a powerful way to reframe this whole conversation is when you're in the moment, would you rather hang on to long-term resentment about something, or would you rather potentially be embarrassed, but open yourself up to being vulnerable with friends? We also make a lot of assumptions about especially what our friends are making and what their financial situations are based on the messaging that they're giving us. Messaging can lie all the time. Like just because your friend carries a certain bag, wears a certain watch, eats a certain place, lives in a certain area, has certain shoes, it doesn't actually mean that their bank account matches up to what's happening there. So you might be surprised if at some point you say, hey, I really appreciate the invite, but to be honest, I am trying to do paying off student loans, paying off credit card debt, supporting a family member, like whatever your reason is, insert thing here, and then say, so instead, could we, and then offer an alternative. And I'm really big on the like compliment sandwich method there, because one, you're providing a solution to the problem you've created, which is saying no. But the other thing is, it's very easy to start saying no all the time because you don't want to have the awkward conversation. And the issue with that is that eventually people will stop asking you to do things because no one likes to get a no again and again and again. And so if you keep saying no, they're just eventually going to slowly fade you out, which is a sad place to be if you're trying to invest in relationships.
Exactly. You talk a little bit about, actually quite a bit, it's a section in the book about financial interventions. And I wanted to clarify the difference, if there is one, between a conversation, a financial conversation, and a financial intervention. Is there a difference between the two?
Absolutely. I think when we talk about intervention, that's really taking place more with somebody who is in a state of need. And in the book, actually, I talk quite a bit about somebody who might have a mental health crisis and might need you to intervene specifically. And that needs to be a conversation well before the crisis happens. So for instance, I've been asked before, like, my partner has, insert potential mental health disorder here. So whether it's bipolar and occasionally has mania that leads to excessive spending, or whether it's like a manic depressive episode, again, that can lead to excessive spending, or irrational purchases. The big thing here is that you need to have preventative conversations with the person when they're in a state of mind to make decisions and not to just try to take control in the actual moment. There are actually legal documents that you can sign that they can dictate what they want to have done in the case of not being able to make decisions for themselves. Now that obviously can do with mental health. That can also do with, hey, you got hit by a car and you're in a coma. Like if we're incapacitated, there are all sorts of paperwork that you can sign in order to give somebody else power of attorney, advanced healthcare directives. These are all incredibly important to be doing, or at least be having the conversations with. So if you have somebody in life, whether it's friend, partner, parent, sibling, who might need to have this conversation, bring it up gently. Have you ever thought about doing this? What would you want done if you were perhaps exhibiting behaviors that I found concerning, if you are making purchases that are going to harm your long-term financial health? But I would say the other thing with the financial intervention is sometimes people just overstep boundaries and try to get involved in other people's financial affairs. If your sibling, your partner, your friend is spending money that you don't like the way they're doing it, the first question is it your business?
Yeah.
Yeah. And if it's your partner, it is your business and you need to have a conversation.
Right.
If it's a sibling, it depends, right? If it becomes your business because you keep financially having to bail them out, then yes, you need to have a conversation about that. And some of that's going to require you to make the hard choice of deciding when and where you're going to cut them off or when and where you're going to provide support. Same with a parent. Also, if it's a sibling who maybe was providing support for another family member, now no longer can, and that falls on you. Like there's all sorts of ways the dominoes can fall. But having financial intervention is not just like, I would do it this way. They're not doing it this way. Therefore, they're doing it wrong. So I need to step in and tell them how to do it. That's not the right way to go about this. And frankly, it might not be your business.
Thank you for clarifying.
As if conversations about money weren't awkward enough, they're made worse when someone crosses the line. And to make matters worse, everyone's interpretation of where that line begins and ends is different. Honestly, it's safe to say the line is invisible, and you only know you've crossed it when it's too late. This is why it's so important to understand the motivations and values of the people you're having these financial conversations with. Whether you're talking to your partner, sibling, or parent, it's important to remember the same bonds that connect us also act as boundaries.
Is there ever a scenario?
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Cashing Out the Podcast. To see more videos like this, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and be sure to turn on your notifications. To get your copy of Cashing Out the book, visit Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, your local bookstore, or download the audiobook on Audible.